some kind of nudge because we both. All I'm saying that I use in MTN network.
Yeah, can you princess? So
I
send
use
this
it
next
again.
please.
Give me, please.
So sorry.
It's not
So
up to
sorry.
that.
So let's just give him a minute to maybe switch his ISP or etc. Hi, Daramola. I think he was trying to like welcome people back to the call. He was talking about the number of people he has seen already. He's excited about this call. Emmanuel also mentioned that he was excited about the call, and I'm like, are we gonna share money today? Is Andy doing giveaway today? Oh my god, I'm so excited. Is he giving $100? I don't know. I mean, what's going to happen today? Yes, there's a recording. You can just be on the call anyways. But yeah, there'll be a recording, and the recording is always, with us. If you'd like it, you can request via DM and we'll send it to you. Alasande is not yet back. I don't know, should we actually start and then he would go on, because I also have access to the questions. Andy, what do you think we should do?
I think we can go ahead. If you have access to the questions, let's start building them while he changes over. Because we've already lost 8 minutes.
Yeah. Yes, we have. Okay, so I'll just start from the first question. Okay, let me just, since we're recording, this is a group mentorship session. For those of you who are attending for the very first time, we use these sessions to, ask all the questions that we have concerning product management. Recently, or in recent times, a lot of people do not have access to mentorship, and we use these sessions to give people an opportunity to ask any question that they want to ask around their careers, their jobs, anything concerning product management. So some people have sent in their questions before now, and when we're done with those questions, we are going to just open it up to the audience for people to ask their questions here. So from the ones that they already sent earlier today on Slack, the first question is from Amos Adereti. He said, how do I build a portfolio as a newly trained product manager for the purpose of job search?
It's a good question. It's come up before. So we've talked about this, and it's very straightforward as a designer or as a dev.
Sorry. Before you continue, the person who asked the question just joined, so I need him to know that his question is the question we're answering now. Amos, we're answering a question now about the portfolio.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah. So So portfolio. So let me preface. Let me start by saying that by declaring my own biases. Right. So I have a bias against portfolios for peers a lot of the time, and I know somebody's going to drag me for that, but it's because a lot of the time, what you see inside a product or a PM portfolio doesn't really translate directly to what a PM does on a day-to-day basis, in the same way that the stuff in a designer's portfolio does, or in the same way that the stuff in a dev's portfolio does. I mean, a dev gives you a link to their GitHub. That's code, right? So if you as a hiring manager wants to, on the engineering side, wants to understand, that dev skills, you are going to go and look at code, or even look at executable. If you are hiring a designer and the designer sends you their portfolio, you are seeing stuff that they have designed. But with a PM's portfolio, but I know that I'm in a rapidly shrinking majority, maybe even a minority at this point. So yeah, if you want to create a portfolio, I think I'm only going to answer it from a perspective of what I think is useful as a hiring manager. What I want to see, because if these are projects that, if you are putting in your portfolio stuff that isn't real projects, because it's not like you went somewhere and was a PM for some open source project or something. You are just trying to show your skills as a PM. What you should be putting in your portfolio is maybe apps that you've studied and apps that you've deconstructed, or products that a product roadmap for an existing company or for an existing product where you think they should go and how you would go about doing that, sort of like, studies on those. If I see those in front of me, it gives me an idea about your level of product thinking. Otherwise, I mean, what else are you putting in there that is reasonable to me? But again, like I said, this is my personal bias, and this is my, and I know that maybe the way I'm thinking about it is not the way a lot of people think about it. So I think if we have enough time at the end, I'd really love to hear from you guys about this particular one. I really want to hear your opinions on it, and let's have a conversation. But let's save that to the end of the session.
All right, thank you so much, Andy. So the next question is and the question: institutes in Nigeria that offer certifications on product management. Also, what would be your advice for someone in the transitioning phase looking to secure his first PM job role?
I think, let me start with the second question. So, let me just get the first one out of the way. I don't know of anyone that is certifying a Nigerian school certifying product managers right now, but can anyone drop in the chat if you know of any? So while that's happening, to the second question of how do you get your first gig, I think the easiest way to get the first gig is to be in the company already doing something else, and then show that you can do the product, you can do product work. I think the vast majority of people who get a product job get the product job transitioning within the same company from one team to another. So, and there are lots of places and lots of companies, both established companies and startups, that have that path, that track that lets you start somewhere else and then, transfer into product, pick up the skills or get the skills and then transfer. So that's usually the easiest way, but that means you have to be in the door already somewhere. The second way is also the same kind of, which is create the role. And you see people doing that these days, where basically they're in companies or in teams that don't have PMs and sort of take on that product role and then create that title for themselves in there. That's the second way. The third way is very difficult because everybody is trying to do that, which is get the certification and then start applying for jobs that you see. The problem with that is we have a weird shaped ecosystem where we have lots of entry-level product managers, lots of junior devs, junior product managers. I was talking about hiring devs just before this call, so it's still dev is still in my mouth. So lots of entry-level PMs, lots of junior PMs, a few intermediate PMs, very few senior PMs, and very few who can be at the head of product role. So it's a very that pyramid exists everywhere. But in most places, the pyramid is maybe something like this. In Nigeria, it's more of like this, where it's like a lot of people at the lower point and then very few people up. And so that means there's a lot of competition for those entry level and junior jobs. At the same time, if you look at our companies, you don't have a lot of, obviously, Amazons, Metas, Microsofts, or even Boeings. What I mean by that is companies that hire lots of junior PMs, lots, because they have like big enterprises established with lots of different software verticals, so they need lots of PMs. You don't see that. You don't even see lots of well-established, just basically well-established corporates that are in the software business. You don't see a lot of that. You see lots of startups. And so we have very few jobs there. So what you are experiencing is the fact that the market is very skewed. And if you want better options, you need to start positioning yourself for the global market as well. So you need to position yourself for those international jobs, which means usually a bit more knowledge, understanding, either on the technical side, on the engineering side, or on the design side.
All right, thank you. So for the first question he asked about the institutions, I'm trying to understand if he meant like schools, universities, or like regulatory bodies that are globally recognized, because we have a lot of product schools in Nigeria. So I'm trying to think around it. He's not on the call, so we can't even like really understand what he was asking. Like, are you asking institutions as per product schools like Treford, Product Dive, or like actual product schools like number one product school where they issue a
Right.
certification?
That's
Yeah, and it's like globally recognized, but all those ones are quite expensive. Anyways, he's not here, so we can't really understand his question. So let's just move on to the next question. Does anybody have a follow-up question to this? Because I know a lot of people are always asking that question. The second part of his question about how an entry-level PM can get a job. Nobody? Okay. So let's move on to the next question. It's from Ayodeji still, but another Ayodeji because different surname. This is long, so I'll try to read it slowly. How do one create growth loops? Most especially, how one can grow numbers, user acquisition and activation as a growth-focused PM of the products. Let me read.
It cut out there again. Yes, please read again.
Yeah. So I think he's saying, how do you create growth loops? How can you grow your user acquisition as a growth-focused PM of a product?
Okay, I think I got the gist of the question. Yeah, so look, I think, but it's a very broad question to ask. Simply put, obviously we're talking about product-led growth here. At the end of the day, all that is figuring out all the ways where you can use the product itself to do the marketing for you. I don't like textbook definitions. I like simple English definitions that I can tell my my kid. So what you're really, that's what because it's such a broad question, it's a bit vague. I'll have to give a broad and vague answer, which is that what you need to be doing is, first of all, you have to understand your users, because at the end of the day, product-led growth is really about virality. It's about either getting your users to use the product in a way that gets other people to use it, or it's all about pushing them to use other aspects of your product and getting them to, and when you look at it that way, it takes you back to my days in sales. You always have to remember that there is a funnel. And I'm staying very high level here because it's a vague question. And you have a funnel. And the funnel at the end of the day is you have an ultimate action that you want people to take, or you have an ultimate state you want people to get to. So, for example, that getting to state might be that you want a retention rate of X%, and you want a number of daily active users at Y, some Y. So you have to know, for every 100 people who ever download my app, or for every 100 people who see the advert for my app, or who are told about my app, how many of them will download the app? What percentage of those, so that's a smaller number, then what percentage of those after downloading the app will use it? What percentage of those who use it will come back? What percentage of those who come back will keep using it and become regular? And how many or what percentage of those are going to take particular actions that lead to more revenue for me or lead to more marketing for me, spreading the news about it? And so it's a funnel. It's at each stage, maybe I should be going like this. It's a funnel. At each stage, that number gets smaller and smaller and smaller to get to the effective point. So when you know, you have to live with that funnel as a product manager. You have to look at that funnel regularly. And what you're doing is you're trying to make that funnel work better. You're trying to widen the bottom of the funnel. You're trying to reduce the percentage, increase the percentage so that the gradient isn't that steep. So that you go from a funnel that's like this to a funnel that's more like this as much as possible. This is the most you can get, 2 parallel lines. But it's never going to be that there's always going to be loss. But what you're thinking about as a PM is how do you reduce that loss? As a growth PM, how do you reduce that loss at each stage? And you can only do that by understanding what each of those transitions are. Let me give you one example. What's the best example I can give for this is if you're thinking about, I mean, a simple one is, for example, clicking through and signing up for the service, or after signing up, doing something effective, like, ordering something, whatever it could be for a fintech, like fintech, ordering something or paying bills. You have to ask yourself, how many of the people who sign up and who sign in every day, what percentage of them are doing that thing? And if that percentage is too low for what you've calculated, well, why? And then that's when you take off the mathematics hat and you put on the artist hat as a PM, and you sit down, and you can do it in different ways. Maybe you're logging where they're clicking, you're looking at your mix panel, and what you're trying to say is, okay, where is the point where people are falling off? Where is the particular thing here that's causing people to fall off? And then you're doing this with your entire team. You have your design team who are looking at it as well and saying, oh, we think it's a UX problem with this. You have, your engineers think, okay, maybe it's wait time, it's latency. You have you as a product manager, and you're thinking about it, and you're saying, well, maybe this feature isn't placed in the right place for X and Y reasons. Then you think about, maybe do I need to do an experiment, set up an A/B test, give some people a different flow and see if that improves it. But again, coming back to the simple answer is you have to understand what your funnel is, what your funnel looks like, and then you have to interrogate every segment of that funnel every month, every week. You have to have a particular 1 or 2 segments of the funnel that you are focusing on, that you want to optimize on. That's the framework you use. Then that framework becomes more specific depending on what you're building. Can you guys hear me?
All right, thank you so much, Andrew. So, IDG is not on
the internet. Your connection is really bad. Like, I'm only hearing every 4th or 5th word.
call, but I believe it is the recording you get some, answers from that.
Is the problem
so
with
much.
me? Is it my internet?
No, I can barely hear it. Okay, awesome.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, much better now. Much better.
I think she's having network issues, so we should just give her a couple of minutes. Please. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I think internet hasn't come back from dirty December.
Uh,
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. While we wait for Princess, I have a question. So when maybe should I go ahead and ask my question, and then when Princess gets back, she can resume asking
yeah,
questions.
please. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. Okay. So a hypothetical scenario. Say you're creating. This is from an assessment I saw recently. Say you're creating a product launch plan for a new functionality or companies trying to launch in an adjacent market. Can you talk to the process of creating this product launch plan? What are the things that you should consider? What are the things you should include in this document?
Okay. So if I understand you, did you say it's this in an adjacent market, or is it, so when you say adjacent market, do you mean geographically adjacent, or do you mean it's it's slightly different product?
Yes, a slightly different product. So focusing on like the new functionality will serve a different set of users than the existing users of the
I'm
product.
sorry, I have to take a call. I am so sorry. Please excuse me one moment. Hi guys, sorry about that. I'm just booking a book. Sorry, please. So you were saying, so it's the same market, but it's a slightly different product from what's already on ground, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. So I think the major things when you've done that is, first of all, the key things that you would have to look at, and again, it depends. Let me add to the hypothetical.
Okay.
Let's say it's an app, right? And it's just an app on the App Store, right? It's fairly basic. Now you already have your distribution channels, right? You have your distribution channels that you were using for your previous product, right?
Mhm.
So the key thing you have to be very mindful of are the deltas, the things that are going to be different different from your original app and your original methods of getting your original app out there. So what do I mean by that? So for example, if you're working directly with your growth team, your growth team already has, you guys have already built you have your, of course, your personas, you have your ad campaigns that are the digital campaigns that are intended for your existing product. You need a plan for creating the new ones. Now, what you need to be thinking about is what's the delta between what you already have and what you need now. So what are the differences between the target demographics, target audience, etc., which would lead to changes in those collaterals that come out in terms of marketing. It may even lead to differences in what channels where you market it, because it could be an app in the same market targeting Nigerians, but maybe the first app you focus more on Facebook versus the second app you focus more on Nairaland, simply because of the different demographics that you are that you are interested in. So all of that has to be captured in the in your launch plan, right? Then you have to think about, it's a question again of what type of launch you're doing. if you're doing like a massive launch across, which is always a bad idea, I think always, sorry, which is usually often a bad idea. I believe in launching small and going out, but if you are doing that, you have to have a clear idea of how you want to launch, where, how, what you need. Also, I think the very first thing you should be thinking about is you need the metrics. You need to understand what does good look like with this launch, and that's something that in anything you're doing as a PM, the very first question should be, what does good look like? So what are the numbers that you are expecting to hit over time? And that has to govern everything else you guys are doing. Because if you have these numbers that you want to hit, then you now have an idea of, well, okay, how am I what's the market, what does the marketing need to be? What does then that leads to? What does the marketing budget look like, etc. You have to have an idea in mind for. So I've talked to you about the marketing side. On the technical side, you need to have an idea of what the dependencies are, what resources do you need? Because again, it entirely depends on what the product is, how much of it requires, what's going on in the back end. Is the back end all up on servers, or is there a human element to the back end? Is there a customer service element? All of those things have to be very clear and understood. And then those also have to be budgeted for, both in terms of time and in terms of money. Where, like, do we have everything we need for this service to work as people start hearing about it and, jumping on board? You need, jumping back a bit, going back to the marketing side, apart from the budget and the understanding of the channels, you need a clarity on the calendar. And it's not you, the PM, doing this, of course. This is stuff that you are supervising this or coordinating, is the word. But on the growth side, they and content, depending on how your organization is set up, they need to be able to tell you, okay, this is how we're going to be releasing our content, our ads, etc. Our posts. It's happening like this, and all of that is so that what's going on out in the field is matched by everything that you need on the back end to support it, and that there's a master plan, a timeline which you are sort of responsible for, and and metrics, key metrics for what does good look like. So I think that's a very rough, high-level idea of what goes into that. The specifics of it will vary from product to product, will vary from market to market, will vary from the nature of the product itself, whether it, how online versus how offline. I think that's the best summary.
Okay. I think that's a very yeah, that explains it to some things
But
that I wasn't considering before.
if you have a follow-up, please let me know, because I think you may have a follow-up there.
No, actually, you just give me some other things that I need to be thinking about as I go through this.
Okay.
Okay, so Princess is still having network issues. So I'll be kind of filling in for her until she gets back. Okay.
Ebube, can you hear Princess?
No.
I think you should just go on if anybody has any other questions.
Yeah. So if you have questions, like if you have any questions, you can just like raise your digital hand in the channel, in the chat, or just put it in the chat. If you have any questions, you can ask in the chat, or you can raise your digital hand so that I can call you. Could be a follow-up, could be something pertaining to challenges you're facing at work or in your career, anything at all.
Ebube, Amos' hand is up.
Oh, okay. Amos, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks very much, Ebube, and thanks to Andrew for the insightful session. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
Loud and clear.
Oh, okay, all right. So just it's going to be a follow-up question anyways. So talking about the portfolios, though I was satisfied with the response, talking about maybe working on products, that would be like a kind of comparison or something to, from what I got from his response. So like maybe comparing products or getting newer features just to improve the product out there in the market, that from a consumer point of view, that is making it more user centric. But then I understand that very well, but then I'm not too sure, maybe not here, maybe that could be applicable outside Nigeria. Well, what I've come to realize is that I've got over 10 years experience, though mostly in IT support and IT project management. So it's as though they want you that you're aspiring or just trying to, come into this new field, bringing things like having a product already in Google Play Store, so number of downloads, expecting it to have. So to me, I don't know. So just want to bring this home, and in reality, how best can one get out of this, just to cross the hurdle. So I'm just looking at how best this can, talking about our own culture, especially in this part of the world. Thank you.
Well, I think when you say in reality, here's the reality. The reality is that if you haven't worked as a PM, you don't have anything to put as, in a you don't have any actual PM experience to put in a portfolio. There is no getting around that. There's no getting around that apart from being rational and creative about it, which is saying, unless you can find those opportunities. Now, here's the thing. You are at a disadvantage as a product manager. A developer can decide to just, I don't have a job yet, but I have these skills. I can do PHP, I can do React, I can do this. Well, let me go and build this little app. Maybe I don't have all the skills, I'm a back-end guy, let me get a front-end guy. Let's work together and let's get this thing, let's build this thing and ship it. A designer, he can, even if maybe they'll call it a designer, and the designer can, create the screens and do all this other stuff. Even if they don't want to call it designer, the designer say, well, you know what? Forget you guys. I'm just going to go and, put some stuff together on Figma and create this portfolio, and I'm out there. The thing with a product manager is you can't do any of this on your own. By nature, your job is to have people to boss around or beg, depending on how much power you have. So now ask yourself, how many open source projects or how many devs working on an open source project will tell you to come and join the open source project just to boss them around or to beg them for how far any update? Like, the reality is that you as a PM have fewer options for doing all of that. I don't know if there is a community out there of people ready to build stuff who are looking for PMs to PM them while they build it. Like stuff on their own time, their own hobbies. Correct me if I'm wrong. If they exist, I would love to have connections with them so that we can put PMs with them. So, like, That is an obstacle you have. There is no elegant solution for that. The only thing you can do is get creative. Like I've said, the best ways to get a job as a PM in Nigeria right now are either is to start in the company as something else and transition into becoming a PM. Like if you're doing that, nobody's asking you for your portfolio or password. The reason you are getting that question a lot in interviews, the reason why that's the reality is that there are so many PMs out there looking for so few jobs. And so the employers, the hiring managers have the luxury to say, no, we're not going to hire any PM unless they have some actual experience under their belt. Show us your portfolio. So if you don't have that experience in your portfolio, you are kind of fighting a losing battle already. And your options are, like I said, get in somewhere and then transition to product within that same company, or get in somewhere and sort of push and help create the product role for yourself. I've seen a few people do that. Or let me put it the other way, get exploited, which happens a lot, where people go and work for startups or whoever that aren't really paying them well or aren't paying them at all. But it's like, hey, at least I can have this experience, stay here for a few months, add this to my resume, add this to my portfolio, then go to the next place, After I have 2 or 3 of these under my belt, then I can go and apply for PM jobs with this experience and now get paying PM jobs. So like those are the options. The other option is, like I said, start doing some product thinking, start assessing products that exist, start doing things that you can actually do on your own to show the world the type of product thinker you are. And if you are good enough at that, you could even get a job that isn't a Nigerian job. Because at the end of the day, we are all I'm sitting down in Nigeria, but I'm not working in Nigeria per se. So that's the way I see it. I don't think, apart from unless somebody wants to lie, which I would never advocate, and just create experience on the resume that they don't have, like these are the options you have.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate your response. Thanks.
Right. I think next person who has their hand raised is Solomon. Solomon, you can go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. Sorry, Mike. Yes. Okay. So to I have a question, but based on the last question I was asked, I think some boot camps, I think old school Africa, they kind of like pay people to build projects, so they can pay backend, front end, and a product manager. So I think that would help with getting product experience and building some early products. But for my question, I just want to ask, how do we get foreign remote jobs? I think that's one of the questions that almost everybody has. I have some PM experience in Nigeria, working at a startup, working at a company, and also building small projects. But I've been actively, I think of recent, since November, actively looking for and trying to apply to foreign jobs, right? So I've just been getting rejections here and there. But I just want to learn from you. Since you said you work remotely for a foreign company, how do you, assuming someone already has that foundation level, like you work in one or two companies as a PM, right, in Nigeria, how do you start to apply or position yourself to apply for foreign remote jobs? Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Solomon. I think, and thank you for raising points about boot camps. They completely slipped my mind, but you are 100% correct. Now, there are a lot of them out there, and there are a lot of spaces, but if you can get into one of those that pairs you up, creates a small team, puts you through for a short program, and usually at the end, the end result is supposed to be something, a tangible product you guys have built. Great, let's add that to the resume. And of course, there's, like I said, there are not a lot of them, so there's also a limit to how many a single person will get into, but it's a good start. So thank you for that, Solomon. Well done. Now, to your question about positioning for foreign and foreign remote work, I had a feeling that if Princess were here now, I would be saying that maybe there needs to be, the same way we have mentorship session and interview prep, maybe we need to do, outshoring prep or something too, that with its own unique needs. But yeah, I think you need, of course, applying is the first step. But in applying, you also need changes to your resume that make it read better for those audiences. There are specific things you can do. I can't list all of them here, but a key one is emphasizing wins over responsibilities. A lot of the time when you're writing a resume for a Nigerian audience, what they're looking for most of the time is, well, what did you achieve there? What did you achieve there? No, sorry, they are looking at what was your job? What was your responsibility? Whereas when you're applying to foreign tech companies, what they're often trying to say is, okay, in that job, what were the key things that you won? What are the key things you achieved? And they want to hard metrics on those. That's one of many things that has to change in the resume. That's one. Beyond the resume, there is also increasingly like more of an emphasis on either specialization as a PM or technicality as a PM. So either you are if you're just a vanilla PM or a product manager, it may be harder for you to get those jobs. They're still there for you, but there seems to be a better path if you have some flavor to you as a PM. So maybe you're a growth PM, or maybe, or like I said, if you're a technical PM, or even if you're not a technical PM, I think the key is to have some engineering knowledge that helps you get in the door better with these. Like I've been on interviews where they're asking me questions about latency and basic was what I'm looking for. Data structures and stuff like that, and system design. And I came from an engineering background, so that stuff was cake. But I know that if you're not coming from an engineering background, you need to have those things, understand those things. That gets you in the door better in interviews. So those are some of the things that, or you can lean more on the design side. So a PM that can get their hands dirty in design, that also helps you get those jobs better. So those are some of the things. But I think it might be worth us thinking about, well, should we have a session just about this? And if we do, I'll be more than glad to be part of that. We have 10 minutes left. I'm wondering if you guys want to talk more about portfolios, or and your own opinions and what you've done with your portfolio. But if you're not, we can still take more questions. Either way, I'm fine. So I'll just time check in since Princess isn't on the call.
Ibubi, are you saying something? Because your mic is muted. Okay, so I think MTN is showing a lot of people pepper this evening. So let me just take over. So we have 10 more minutes. Does anybody here have any more questions? you can unmute your mic, and if you also want to put it on the group chat, I said group chat, on the chat section, you can also do that. But if you have a question, you can just as well unmute your mic or raise your hands or anything.
Yeah, Andrew, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay,
For
go ahead,
your
Solomon.
response. Please, I'll actually love if we would have a session on that, actually, like a group session on that for remote job hiring. But I've fine-tuned my CV like 4 or 5 different times. So yeah, that would really be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Sorry, if I got you correctly, Solomon. A session on what? Is it portfolio building, CV writing, or what?
No, getting success with foreign interviews, getting foreign gigs.
Oh, okay. All right, that's noted. I think Princess is here. I don't know if she can hear, but if she can hear, I'll pass the information so that it can be added to the
If you
pipeline.
guys can hear me.
Okay, Princess, I think I can hear you now.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
in real time. Clear. It's clearer.
Thank you. Oh my God, I've been struggling. I'm going to buy Airtel SIM tomorrow. Goodbye to MTN. And I've been saying I'm going to buy Airtel SIM for like 6 months now because this issue started several months ago. I really apologize to everybody. I came back to the call and the call was still recording. So
It's all
thank
right.
you. Yes, like because someone else was really, banking on the recording of this call and see how the network messed me up, or Google kept on recording. Thank you, Google. But anyways, like Andrew has said, we have a few minutes to the end of this call. We spoke about portfolios at the beginning. Andrew talked about his buyers, and then he said towards the end of the call, we're going to talk about how we see portfolios. Are they necessary? Do you have a portfolio? What have you done? Does anybody want to just share around that before we end the call today? Anybody, if you have a question too around like building portfolios and what to add to your portfolios. So while we wait, actually I have a portfolio, Andrew. Yes, I do. And I created a portfolio in 2020. So my story is quite different because as I transitioned to product management, I got a job instantly. So I already had something to put inside. So I had a health tech product that I was working on. So I shared screenshots from the design, my processes, the kind of teams I worked with, what we achieved at the end of the day. Right now I have 8 products there. So it's a bit tricky for someone who hasn't worked on anything. Like you said, people may just put like a fictional product or a product that they like, that they want to improve on, and then just write out their processes. But like you said, a lot of people do not really, in quotes, care about like PM portfolios. They have their own assessments, how they want to assess the product managers during the interview process. Some people don't even take the portfolio seriously. They just look through and don't really attach any form of value to those portfolios. But just helps me. Go and look at it. I'm like, oh, I'm trying. So I think maybe I did for check it once they have it, but I want to use it for
We cannot hear you.
so my next one is stop again. Oh my God. Can you hear me now?
We can no longer hear you. MTN is active again. Okay, someone has something in the chat while we're waiting for Princess, and I'll just read it out. Oluwaseyi Adebayo says, I have a portfolio I accumulated from my experience with taking assessment tests. However, I noticed a recruitment bias. This syndrome of you having to know someone to get a job plays out a lot in the tech space. Omo, I think that one is a conversation for another day. But yeah, I don't know if Andrew wants to talk about that. But
Yeah, I would say that some of the things you see and hear from our space when it comes to hiring, our hiring practices are not great. They are not the best a lot of the time in the Nigerian space. But you also have a lot of companies that are doing the right thing as well. It's just it's a bit of a lottery. To tell you the truth, it's a bit of a lottery. Yeah, but yeah.
okay. I hope you got that, Shay. So does anybody else want to share about like portfolios? For me, yes. I have never had to submit a portfolio at an interview or an application, but I have one. And I think okay, because I haven't gotten like a request, but I actually have one. And I built my portfolio with Canva, but like so far, I don't think I've ever seen ad portfolio in any link. Or even when I have seen, sometimes it is optional. And I think I've applied to one place that I saw like portfolio, a few for portfolio, but I didn't attach my portfolio because at the time I wasn't feeling confident about my portfolio. And I still got called for an interview and stuff. And everything else is history. But basically, till now, I still don't know. I mean, if you can get your portfolio, do. But over time, I think one thing I've also noticed is as you grow your career, really, the need for a portfolio kind of gets watered down because now it will be about tell us the businesses you've built. Let us just like tell us. And even in some instances, they must have even heard of you or see what you've done. And then they're interested in, they want you on their team. They want you to come and replicate it or something. So it is your work that will now be speaking for itself, or somebody that works with you and then goes to tell the world about the good news, which is you. But yeah, that's something I have also noticed. So I don't know if anybody else wants to share on that. I think it's approaching 8 already.
People are making me change my mind about portfolio small though. I don't know.
In what way?
Small. My heart was very hard against it, but now I'm softening a bit.
It is allowed.
I'll allow it.
All right. I don't think anybody else wants to talk. I think everybody is fine. Everybody here has a portfolio, or everybody has something that has worked for them. All right. Thank you so much, Andrew. Princess, I don't know if you're back. Your network is back. I mean,
appear on your side.
you're not back.
Oh my God.
Okay, now you're back. Sorry. I think Samuel, you have your hands raised. You want to say something?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. Oh, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Samuel.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you everyone for the question. I think the old portfolio question. I mean, I've had like something about it before, but I feel like the team kind of did like a good job answering that question. Yeah. So I think one particular question I asked for you, Andrew, is have you had to hire for a non-technical product management role before, like outside of, let's say, fintech, maybe like say social media or something, let's say like media or like a non-technical role, basically, right? Let's say, for example, a newspaper house that has like a product team or something.
Have you had to do that, and like how did that go? What were the things like you were looking out for and all? That's just my question.
So if I understand, you mean like it's not a tech company, but there
Yes.
is a tech arm, or
Yes, exactly.
yes. So I've had to do that before, but never for product. I've done that before for engineers, but never for product.
Oh, okay. All right. That's
Yeah.
fine. All right. But let's say if you were to do that for a product role, how would you go about that? So I'm putting you on the spot
Well,
here, though.
no, that's fine. It's a good question. So the thing, I think the biggest difference in a situation like that is autonomy, right? The people you're hiring there, one, they're going to need to have a higher level of autonomy than people who work in a tech company that is a fully tech company. You know what I mean? Because when you're working in a tech company, the culture is oriented around the tech, right? So, but here, a lot of the times, in situations like you've described, the tech is really an add-on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, in that situation, one, there's not some. Oftentimes, there isn't enough institutional knowledge in the company to help the tech person, whether it's a PM or an engineer, really like keep them on task, help them get their job done. So you need people who are self-starters, who are very autonomous, who know what they need to do, and who can go and get it done. Basically, the more senior, the better, right? That's one. The second issue, because now there are two sides to that coin. You also are going to need people who can stand up for themselves. The biggest problem in those type of situations is that there isn't, like, because I said there's no institutional knowledge about the tech generally, and tech is not a tech first thing. All those things we normally face from the business are multiplied by 100.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, because now so we do business. Which don't come again with this one. Coding this one. Like that's the attitude a lot of the time. So you need somebody who knows her onions and who can stand up for herself and defend the tech. Of course, that's really the role that the CTO plays in that kind of organization, because the CTO is sort of the ambassador. He or she is the highest tech person, and they're the person who has to like negotiate with everybody else. However, a lot of the time you will still have a lot of cross-functional work. And in that situation, you need somebody who at that PM level, whether head of product or a PM, who has the confidence in their own abilities, who has the experience and grounding and the personality to like either negotiate and get victories or stand their ground and not get losses. So those are those are very important. And then of course, you need somebody with strong domain knowledge of the thing, or even if you don't have the domain knowledge, they have the capacity to get it. And then that's a question of, and when I say the capacity to get it, then there's a little formula that always plays in my head, which is, well, how much does this person have to learn? And then how good is the organization at teaching? Those are the two things that combine. If the organization is very bad at teaching, you need somebody who's very, very good at learning. And I'll be in the interview, I'm trying to understand from their experience, what can they show me that showed me that they were able to pick up something very fast, very deeply, So like visualize on this call, we both worked at Babangona together. And Babangona is, even though I said, like, I'm not putting Babangona in this category because in a lot of ways, the apps in Babangona are central to the work in Babangona in a lot of ways. So I won't quite put Babangona in this same bucket, but although I hired PMs for Babangona. But the thing is, with BG, it's an agric company. Like there's a lot of it's farming, right? So there's a lot to understand about the agricultural cycle, about harvest and planting and all these other things, fertilizers. There's a lot to understand about that on one layer. The next layer, there's a lot to understand about field operations of a Bangona and how the company works. And
Okay.
so those are the two things that somebody has to learn. So the question now becomes, how good are we at teaching those things, and how good is this person at learning? So I think those are the things that you would look out for.
Thank you so much. I mean, you fantastically answered my question. Thank you a lot. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Samuel, for the question. Okay, Andrew, you have someone in the chat saying, "I, as Andrew, I'm available to shadow your work to understudy if the opportunity is available. Shooting your shots,
I like it.
2023 edition."
I like it. Unfortunately, because of the nature of my work, a lot of it is confidential, so it's not very easy to shadow me. But that's why we have these group mentorship sessions always available.
Yeah. So, in other words, Andrew says it's here for you. So you can always join the mentorship sessions and relay any questions you have, concerns, work related, product related, and it would always be available to answer. Okay, I think we've spent past time. We've stayed past time here already. So thank you very much, Andrew, for your time. This session was really, really insightful, and it helped me personally put a lot of perspective into things. So thank you for sharing. And thank you for everyone that's contributed to. Thank you, guys. So we meet again on Saturday. I think that's our next meeting, the check-in call. See you all. Have a fantastic night rest. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.